Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Sit back.
Remember, do not be a hero.
Put it down.
No piece of art is worth a human life.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. Actually happening on a Monday, but slightly later than normal because it's been a bit of a busy day for myself. It is Monday the 16th of November. We are here to go through, as usually, look at some movie news, some new releases, including these films.
Really? We're here to do movies?
Yeah.
You sure?
Movie
I'm
news.
actually here as well.
Yeah.
You've gone past the introduction and
I have
all
done.
that kind of stuff.
I have done. I'm kind of crazy tonight.
Yeah, you should be in my shoes, and considering that I work in retail, I'm gearing up for Black Friday, also Christmas, Cyber Monday. I'm dead. So by the time I get my days off, which is not until Saturday, I'm like a zombie. I'm worse than a zombie. So that retail's a horrible place to work at Christmas, trust me. It's a horrible place. That's
I'll take your word for it.
When I finally do get to the cinema, I'm more likely to fall asleep during the movie. That's not indicative of the quality of the film. I'm just more likely to fall asleep because the chair is comfortable to sit in for a couple of hours.
Well, if it's a terrible film, that's probably going to add towards it. If it's a really bad film, there's probably a high chance then.
Yeah, but the worst thing is, if it's a really good film, then you're missing out on something really good. So that's why I'm worrying for when I go to see the new Hunger Games this Thursday that I'm going to be so tired. I was thinking about booking it for the VIP screen where the seats are even more comfortable. It's probably not a good idea. I need like a seat where it's like really hard, so I'm just sitting there. You need
what you need like a dead man switch. So you got like something that if you like hold it with your hand, and if you loosen your grip on it, you get like a shock or something to wake you up.
I'll just ask one of the ushers to like prod me every like 20 minutes or so. Just can you wake me up if you walk into the room and see me falling asleep? Just give me a prod, just so I can actually notice what Katniss is actually doing lately. But this week, yeah, we're looking at The Lady in the Van, which is it's a British comedy drama, and then Steve Jobs and the Halloween father and daughter. Yeah,
but as usual, we've got some movie news and top 10 and everything we'll be doing before that. But then after that, we'll have a little break, and as usual, go on to this week's DVD and Blu Ray releases, which are these films.
Those yellow, brilliant, annoying, brilliant creatures, which are brilliant, which you finally actually have seen.
Yes.
Shocking as it might be, but there's another film coming out in a couple of weeks' time, Inside Out, which you will finally have seen.
I have to see that. Yeah, I need to see that as well. There's coming two animated films. Two of the well, I have an idea of what one is like. The other one, everyone going raving about it. So of course, two of the biggest sort of great animations of the year, and I haven't had a chance to see them.
That's because I'm the one who does the animated film, so I'll probably be the one to do The Good Dinosaur as well, which is out in 2 weeks' time. But yeah, we have the Minions, and then horror with the Gallows, thriller with the Forger, horror again with The Stranger. I'll give you a clue what I thought of the film, and then to round things off, British film, The Legend of Barney Thomson.
Yeah, Scottish film.
Okay, then Scottish film.
Yeah. But as I said before that, we'll get going quickly because we've got quite a lot to do, and I don't have any, but Stuart has quite a lot of news to go through there.
Yeah, so I do my job on multiple fronts. And just before we came on air, it's just been announced that the next film set for remake treatment, and you'll not be very happy about this, is Memento.
Yeah, I have just seen that. I can't believe that. Who are these people that are deciding these?
That made me scratch my head. How are you going to remake, reboot, reimagine Memento?
Because you couldn't even try and make it in order because, well, you could, but there's no point because that's on the DVD as a hidden extra in the DVD version.
it made me scratch my head. Memento is an absolutely brilliant movie, but it's one of those films where you have to watch multiple times. Remaking it is just a stupidly stupid idea.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a film that not only is it a great film that stood the test of time, which hasn't really had much of a test of time, but there's plenty of other films out there that should be remade and they're just getting completely overlooked.
They should just
leave it alone.
Every single week, please stop remaking things.
Yeah,
do something new and different.
Well, the next one we got to look to actually that's happening, comes out soon, is the Point Break one, which is in February next year, I think. So, you know, I don't hold high hopes for that because I love the original.
Yeah. Proper news: Ridley Scott has announced that his Prometheus sequel has had another title change. The film was changed to Alien Paradise Lost. Now the film will be titled Alien Covenant and is out on October the 6th, 2017.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to stick. I think that's going to change again.
It sounds like the Halo movie.
Yeah. It's just, well, I mean, Paradise Lost sounded like another game, did it not? Was there not a game recently, Paradise Lost or something like that? Paradise
Lost was a name of a horror film. It was
I know that.
Called Touristas.
Yeah.
It's called Paradise Lost over here.
But I thought there was a game or something like that as well. I don't know.
No. But yeah, Alien Covenant, it definitely does sound like the Halo movie. It's a silly title, but it's Ridley Scott. The only good thing is that Lindelof is not involved.
Oh, thank God.
However, they have getting the guy who wrote the script to the Green Lantern to do writing duties on it.
Don't have a problem with that. I didn't think the Green Lantern was that bad.
And he's also penning the script to Blade Runner 2.
Yeah, I don't know that that's up to the same kind of level.
Yeah, which ties into a piece of news story that I wrote at the bottom, is that Ryan Gosling has revealed that he is involved with Blade Runner 2.
It's one of those ones that I'm not going to hold my breath on, because it's going to be a while off until we have any sign of it actually happening properly and stuff, and so much can change between now and then. It's just not worth getting your hopes up about.
The only hopes I've got is the director, Denis Villeneuve, because I've really liked all of his previous films, what he's done, so I think he's a very smart director, and so that's the only big hope I've got there, is the fact that they've got a competent director on board. Saying
that, Denis Villeneuve, we haven't seen him, as much as I haven't seen Enemy. I know Enemy, as much as it can have a little bit, it isn't really a proper sci-fi film. We don't know what he could be like with sci-fi.
Yeah, but we know what he's like with gritty scripts.
Yeah.
So it could be. We'll see what happens with that.
As long as it's well written.
Ridley Scott's going to be involved.
Yeah.
With it, so it can help there on that front there. So team and Ridley Scott, and remember, Ridley Scott works best when he works with somebody who's wrote a gritty script or a really good script.
Get Drew Goddard to write it.
Yeah, well, definitely. I will get Drew Goddard pretty much to write everything, but he's only one person. So yeah, working alongside Denis Villeneuve as well, he can add grit to it. So that's the only hope I've got. According to Atlas Entertainment, founder Charles Roven, both Wonder Woman and Justice League Part 1 will shoot in the UK.
Yeah, they're going to be shooting in London next year, isn't it? 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, a lot of films are shot in the UK, because the UK has got a booming film industry. It's not booming to actually like UK made films, but it's booming for making other countries' films, because they've got great studios and great edicts that work here. And I mean, it goes back to films like in the 80s that were made here. I mean, things like, Aliens was made here, and that was completely American, with James Cameron and that. For example, that sort of stuff. You've got not even American ones. The Fifth Element was largely filmed in London. They almost burned down one of the actual big warehouses that they use because they set up too much pyrotechnics on it. But it's a great sort of site that gets a lot of these things. So I mean, a lot of the Star Wars films were filmed here. I don't see why that should change, and I look forward to hearing more about UK ones, because I mean, I'm surprised actually. I don't know if we've had any Marvel films built here.
Avengers was.
Was
Lots
it?
of Avengers Age of Ultron was.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was filmed in Pinewood Studios.
Yeah, Pinewood is such an important part of film history, just generally. It's had so many things in, and the Bond films as well, for example.
Yeah, and it's also down to the fact that the government finally seeing that shooting films in the UK is a big proper thing, and so the tax breaks is much better than what it used to be. That's the reason why the film studios used to shoot in places like Canada, etc., because tax breaks over there is fantastic for the film itself, so they can save much more on the budget. But now it's better over here, so they are shooting over here. Plus, we've got a very diverse landscape. If you go down south in the UK, you've got moors and huge, massive, vast fields and things like that where you can have battles. Yet if you go to the Highlands of Scotland, you've got your mountain ranges, but you've also got the forests and trees where you can add some creepiness or some authenticity on that front there. The only thing we don't have is arid drylands, which Australia has in droves. And so if your movie's Mad Max X, then Australia is the place where you need to be. But if you want gritty, grimy, horrible, windy, rainy weather, then the UK is perfect for that.
Yeah, especially given recently, I cannot believe it's still raining, and it's the same rain that we had last week. It's literally been a week raining here.
Other news is, according to the Hollywood Reporter, director Doug Liman will be helming the Gambit movie.
Mixed reservations about that. Doug Liman generally he's a great director and stuff, but I mean, looking at kind of superhero things, Jumper, which I did enjoy, but it's not by any means a great film that could have been. It's obviously based on a novel as well, not a comic like the character of Gambit is. But I have reservations about him directing something that is a superhero thing, because his previous work on it was not good.
Yeah, we'll see what he does with it. He did Edge of Tomorrow, so.
Yeah, I mean, true that is kind of comic booky. I mean, that did have a comic book originally, although I don't think it's entirely faithful. The thing he's very well known for taking a script and throwing a lot of it out and just keeping plot points and making it up as he goes along, which might work for adapting a book to do a rough adaptation of something, but for a comic book character, and especially the way Marvel have been doing things, I mean, this isn't Marvel, this is actually 20th Century Fox, but the thing is, that's the kind of thing that annoys the fans, because you're not being faithful to the comic, and that means he may not leave details in there that are little crucial things to the character, which means that it won't be character of Gambit, it'll be just somebody who is called Gambit. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea.
Well, let's hope that Deadpool's a success, and if it is, he learns from that then. Because we saw what Deadpool was like in X-Men Origins Wolverine, which was just an horrendous version of Deadpool. It was really bad. So
yeah.
Let's just hope that the Deadpool that everybody knows, the violent, narcissistic, very sweary Deadpool, is the thing that Ryan Reynolds is doing. Trailer-wise, we're getting...
It certainly looks it, yeah.
But it could be watered down glimpses of that. That might be the most extreme stuff he does in the film, and so if the studios get their own horrible, hideous, heinous ways, what we might have seen in the trailers, the red band trailer might be the DVD/Blu Ray version of the film, and the green band trailer might be the horrible, watered down, bleep, sweary kind of 12A version of the film, which the cinema might get. Let's hope that's not the case.
Yeah, I hope not.
Other quick pieces of news is the sequel to Snow White and the Huntsman is getting another name change, previously titled The Huntsman. The film will now be called The Huntsman Winter War. The film will be out on April the 22nd, 2016, and the new trailer is out on Wednesday.
I have absolutely zero interest in this. It's a spin-off from, first of all, a film that was terrible, and it's a spin-off of a character that was not particularly interesting in the original film anyway.
Liam Hemsworth is going to return as the character of it.
Don't care.
Bong Joon-ho is his amazing film Snowpiercer is getting turned into a TV series.
I can see how that will work as an idea for like an extended kind of TV mini-series. I don't know as a series, it's going to run on for several years.
Well, I absolutely adored Snowpiercer. It still has yet to be released officially in the UK. You can get it on Blu Ray, Region 2 Blu Ray in pretty much everywhere. In Italy, in Australia, in New Zealand. You can get it in America, you can get it in Japan, you can get it everywhere apart from the UK. Which is annoying the hell out of me because I can't officially include it in any of my top 10s of the year until the film finally gets officially released in the UK, and I saw it a year ago.
Yeah.
So that's the annoying thing for me. I adore the movie. I absolutely loved the film, and it'll definitely be in my top 3 of movies of the year if we got the official release in the UK.
It's annoying because you get other small films made. There's like Outlander, which was a few years ago, quite a few years ago actually, was a film that was like this, very small, independently made, and got a release through, I think it was the Weinsteins in the end, who took it, and they effectively dumped it in cinemas. It got a week release, which only had like 1 or 2 showings in a week in, I don't know, maybe 10 cinemas in the UK, and that was it. And then it got dumped, and then eventually came out on Blu Ray, and it's a great film. It's a great sci-fi film as well, and this is of that level, a great film, and it's a shame that nobody has picked it up now and done anything with it.
Yeah, which is the worst thing is Bong Joon-ho's new film Okja, which has got Jake Gyllenhaal in it. That'll be out in the UK before Snowpiercer. And so
Snowpiercer's got Chris Evans in it. How is nobody has Captain America's in it. Has nobody thought starring Chris Evans of Captain America?
It's got Ed Harris and John Hurt and Tilda Swinton and Jamie Bell, Octavia Spencer. It's got a huge, massive cast. It's sort of like the flip version of All the Boys Love Mandy Lane, because in the UK we got that film 6 years before the US. So we will probably not get to see this movie in the UK until 2020, and I'll still include it in my top 10 list. Last piece of news, the only reason why I included it is because this shows you how bad his career has gone now. It just made me laugh. But Liam Neeson has been confirmed as playing Mr. Toffee in the Candy Crush movie. And that's it. I just wanted to include that because that just proves how desperate he is for film roles now.
I don't think he's desperate. I think it's just the money. It's a money role.
Just come on, in the Candy Crush movie, especially playing a character called Mr. Toffee.
Yeah. Box office top 10. Let's get on to that quickly. Starting at number 10 with The Last Witch Hunter, which I believe now you have seen.
I have seen, and you were eager for me to actually see it.
Yes.
You quite liked it.
Yep.
And Breck Eisner, who directed, I really liked his previous film, which was the remake of The Crazies.
Okay.
Which, when it comes to remakes, that's actually high on my list.
Which is actually a film I believe I remember seeing the original when I was younger.
Yeah, Timothy Olyphant is in the remake. The original was George A. Romero film back in the early 80s. And if you bought it on Blu-ray and DVD, the remake, you got the original with it as well. The original is okay. The remake is a million times better.
Okay, what about The Last Witch Hunter then?
The Last Witch Hunter, unfortunately, is not a good film.
Oh, come on.
It's not a good film because the problem with the movie is that, as with normally these kind of films, the central section of the film sags badly. It sags really badly. And the director has come up with a couple of decent ideas. He just decides to throw those ideas out of the window, introducing characters in the first 20 minutes of the film and then completely ignoring them, just so he could add some kind of love interest in there to make supposedly the film more interesting, and then bringing back the characters, specifically Elijah Wood's one, for the last 15 minutes and realizing, it's a fantasy movie, we've got to include that kind of element into the film. And so he only just realizes stuff before it's too late. Like I said, there is a couple of interesting ideas there, and it's not as bad as some of the awful films like this we've seen, but it's still very good.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a bit of a cut above the rest of that sort of thing. Number 9, Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension.
Paranormal Activity, no more. That's it. We're done. We are absolutely done with the Paranormal Activity series, and thank God for that.
It doesn't leave it open for another one, does it?
No. Well, It sort of does, because the way they ended, it completely ruins what they did with the marked ones, which was the previous one, which if they ended it there, that would have been satisfying enough. But the way they ended in the Ghost Dimension is sort of like stupid. And so they can go maybe another 2-3 films after that if they wanted to, which in about 5 years' time, because remember they're talking about a Saw reboot, then they'll probably do that.
Number 8 is Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse.
Yeah, it's a new entry, gone in quite low. It's a pity as well, because it is one of those sort of like take your mates and enjoy it kind of comedy horror movies. Ton of gore, a few really funny laughs. Some of the jokes fall majorly flat, but you forgive it slightly because the gore's quite inventive. The jokes that do hit are quite funny, and the audience that I went to see it were the perfect audience for the film. They got the laughs, they got the jokes, they got the gore, they just enjoyed it. It's a popcorn zombie movie where if you're not a fan of horror movies, because you might get the jump scares and stuff like that, this is the perfect kind of film for you, because it doesn't feature any jump scares whatsoever. And a lot of critics are latching onto that, this fact they're saying that there isn't any jump scares in it, but horror isn't just all about jump scares. There is multiple strands of horror, and this is one of the alternate strands to a jump scare movie.
How does it compare to things like Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
I think Tucker and Dale versus Evil is more inventive, but Tucker and Dale versus Evil is not a zombie movie. No,
it's but a similar kind of low rent kind of gore movie kind of thing.
Well, the Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse has more in common with, I don't want to say Shaun of the Dead, because I think Shaun of the Dead is sort of like the upper echelon of not just comedy horror movies, but of horror films, because it melds multiple sections, not just from horror, together. It belongs up there with things like Return of the Living Dead, those schlocky kind of 80s over-the-top gory horror films where it interjects humour into it. So I think it has more in common with that rather than the hillbilly slack-jawed yokels killing each other in Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Okay, Suffragette is at number 7.
Yeah, a very well acted film. The story is it straggles a little bit, but I think some of the actors involved in the film will get nods near to the end of the year in pretty much in my awards anyway. Don't know if they'll win it, but they will get at least some mentions.
Okay, The Martian is at number 6.
Yeah, it's done brilliantly for itself. It's a very well written script, very well directed film, very entertaining. Just overall, it surprised a lot of people on how good it is.
Yeah, and I see. I gotta say a thing about it that I'm reviewing a film which has got in it. I forget his name. Jeff Daniels in it, and it's a film that it's got sort of actors like that in smaller roles, but it's a weird thing to see him in. He's a similar kind of role in Steve Jobs, but it's not a typical Jeff Daniels performance. If you watch Jeff Daniels in a lot of things, you kind of go, you see him in this and you're like, oh, surprise, and it's a weird thing to say that, but it's one thing I noticed especially this week. Jeff Daniels has become that kind of actor who he went away and did loads of little things and filmed things, and he kind of disappeared, and he seems to have come back with a vengeance, but with a great sort of strong supporting actor roles.
It seems to me, though, that ever since he was in the Newsroom, his characters that he plays in movies seem to be very much like his character in the Newsroom.
Very bureaucratical.
Yeah, it's got very much his style. It's sort of like got the sarcastic twist to it, but in a way you can definitely tell that he's serious about what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just thought I was mentioning it because I'll get to that a bit when I do Steve Jobs review, but it's a thing that after having seen The Martian, I kind of thought, as a film was and Jeff Daniels, and it's not really. He's in it quite a bit. Okay, moving on. Burnt is at number 5.
I've not seen.
Okay, I quite like this. It's not a great film. It has definitely got. It's definitely not among the better of the films that will make you salivate over food, but it's got a sort of a good cast and a good general film. It is a sort of small indie film, and you can feel that with it. But it has got sort of good performances at the centre of it, with Bradley Cooper doing a really good performance, Sienna Miller doing a really good performance, and Daniel Bruhl just doing a real accent.
Isn't that normally the case?
No, but it's really, really weird. It's very, very. It's like is really, really putting on the bad accent kind of thing on purpose, and it's actually really distracting for his character most of the film. Okay, number 4 is Pan.
Which is, for the first 15 minutes, it's entertaining Pan. For the last hour and 30 minutes, it's Pants. Because it just, as soon as it gets to Neverland, and as soon as they start singing Smells Like Teen Spirit, as soon as you see Blackbeard, played by Hugh Jackman, crop up onto the screen by jumping up onto a railing in those stupid pants and that stupid beard/mustache that he's got, you realise, yep, this is going to be a bit of a headache. And unfortunately, it really does become a major headache, more so when you start to see those stupid giant birds. Because that's when you just want to bang your head against the seat in front of you and think to yourself, what have you done? You set up a decent film in the first 15-20 minutes. It's got some decent humour in it. You think, oh, you might be in for an interesting adventure, but then you just throw it down the toilet and you just let it flush constantly.
Would it have been any better if they'd been singing We Will Rock You?
No, it would have been better if they weren't singing full stop.
Okay, Brooklyn's at number 3.
I've not seen.
Not seen. Okay, I'm curious to see what you think of this, because the thing is, a lot of people seem to have really, really, really sort of struck on with this and loved it. And I thought it was well performed. It was a really good performance at the centre of it by Saoirse Ronan. I didn't think it was an especially well put together film. I do think it's a bit rough around the edges. I do think it needed some tightening up. I think the pacing of it is off. But I mean, it's a perfectly fine film. I just found it wasn't as engaging as I really wanted it to be, and I came out at the end of it going, I wish it had been better. And a lot of people have been saying they come out of it and really, really enjoyed it, but I just found it didn't quite gel for me.
Well, I do want to see it because I really do like Saoirse Ronan, and it interested me. It's just that I've got so much on my plate at the moment that
she is very, very good at it. But and so are some of the actors around her. But it doesn't come together.
Yeah, because unfortunately over the next few weeks, even though I think this weekend is probably our most lax week when it comes to films, because we've only got 2 movies in the form of the new Hunger Games film and The Dressmaker, and that's pretty much it. After that, it's just we're bombarded constantly with movies, because not just in cinema, also home release, because they'll want to get that all out before Christmas. And when you've got a busy work schedule on top of that as well, trying to see other films in the top 10 is pretty much hard. It's really hard, but I'll give it a good go to see if I can get to see it.
Yeah. So Hotel Transylvania 2 is still at number 2.
I don't know why I've seen this film twice. I honestly do not know why I've seen this film twice, kicking and screaming the second time to see it. It's just, the worst thing is though, the people who I went to see it, the guy's son, he wanted to see Pixels. And I said it wasn't on, because obviously it's out on Blu Ray and DVD in a couple of weeks' time. And so, to be honest, I'd rather actually have sat through Pixels again than Hotel Transylvania. The lesser of the two evils when it comes to Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah, but in one of them you have to look at Adam Sandler for like an hour and 40 odd minutes.
That's the only downfall. But I could have just put my hands over my eyes and just heard sort of like made it like an audio book in a way when Adam Sandler would be on the screen. But yeah, Hotel Transylvania 2 is completely a misstep from the first one.
Yep. And so of course that means that Spectre is still at number 1.
Which is obviously obvious that it's going to be the number 1. Next week, the new chart's out on Wednesday, which it'll not be challenged very much from the new releases. However, the week after that, I don't think it'll be number 1 because of the Hunger Games, which is making me happy, because then it won't have spent the amount of time at number 1 that Skyfall did. It's slowing down a bit in the US, more so than what happened with Skyfall. However, it is picking up across the globe. This is definitely looking like it'll get past the $1 billion mark worldwide before the end of the year very easily. And it's unfortunate because I was watching a YouTube video where it had the top 10 like worst films that did very well at the box office. So reviewed badly, or a lot of people thought it was bad from word of mouth and things like that, but did stupid amounts of money at the box office. I personally would include Spectre in that list, and Skyfall, because I personally think, and again this is personal, that I think they're bad movies which are doing stupidly well at the box office, and in my opinion definitely don't deserve it, because there are other films out there similar ilk to Spectre and Skyfall which handle their themes much better, which have done much worse. And the only reason why Spectre and Skyfall is done as brilliant as it is because it's got the character of James Bond in it.
I mean, I don't think that Spectre is as good as people are making it out to be. Again, I found it to be a bit of a disappointment. I found it to be a little bit tiring of the role of the character, especially than Skyfall did, and especially than Casino Royale did. So
the worst thing for me though is I personally, again, I don't know where they can take the James Bond series that would make it interesting for me. I just haven't a clue, because I've seen every single James Bond movie. It's not that I've not only seen one or two of them. I have seen them. It is that thing where your parents make you watch them when they were on ITV during a Saturday afternoon, and so you were forced to watch them. So I've seen them all, and I can't latch onto any of them. And it's just, I don't know in what direction they could take the series. I don't know what just gets me annoyed with the Bond series or makes me not like them. I don't know what it is, and until I can find what that is, then I can think, well, could they go into this direction to change something?
Okay, moving on to this week's releases. Got quite a few to go through in the cinema release, so let's get going. The first one.
Yeah, it's The Lady in the Van, which is a small British comedy drama movie. It's directed by Nicholas Hytner, and it centres around specifically Alex Jennings' character, who plays Alan Bennett. It's written by Alan Bennett, and it's sort of like Alan Bennett's life between the 1970s and the 1990s, where he grew up in Camden. He's a writer. He is a playwright, actually. He wrote lots of self-titled plays. But it's all about his life and how this woman, who's just called Miss Shepherd, changed his life pretty much forever. She's played by Maggie Smith. She does that by moving into the street where he lives, not actually into a house. She's in a van, and she spends her time outside of other people's houses. And with him being the really nice person that he is, he decides to offer her to stay on his driveway, and she didn't move for 15 years. And so the movie chronicles the time from when she moves onto the driveway up until near to the end of her life, and how she affects people in the neighbourhood. Here's a clip.
Put the van in your drive? That never occurred to me. I don't know. It might not be convenient.
No, I've thought it over. Believe me, Miss Shepherd, it's all right. Just till you sort yourself out.
But not convenient for you. Convenient for me. You're not doing me a favour, you know. I have got other fish to fry. A man on the pavement told me if I went south of the river, I'd be welcomed with open arms.
I was about to do her a good turn, but as ever, it was not without thoughts of strangulation.
Yeah, and so like I said, she affects everybody's lives in there, but you start to unravel bits about her story, why she is bitter as she is. It involved, this is not a spoiler because it's right at the start of the film, she was involved in an incident which she did something which she shouldn't have done. She made a decision which comes back to haunt her multiple times. Also, you find out that she was interested in playing the piano. She was very musical orientated. However, at the convent where she was as a nun, she was told not to do that, not to play on the piano. It's the kind of thing that God wouldn't like her to do. And so you do find out about her bitter life and why she is bitter now. And it's amazingly played by Maggie Smith. Now, Maggie Smith is one of our best actresses, our best actors, just overall one of the best people to ever star on TV and film for the UK. She definitely deserves her damehood. She deserves every award that she's given, because every kind of role that she plays, she imbues just the essence of the character that she's doing. Alex Jennings, who plays Alan Bennett, gets Alan Bennett down to a T. He's annoying, sort of like twinge to the way he speaks. You heard it in that, and at the start of the film, and for the first 25-30 minutes, it grates on you a bit because he has more of a higher tone pitch to his voice, and you get used to that. And he also lives with himself, which sounds weird, but when you watch the film, you realise what that means, because there are two versions of him living in the same house. It's played by the same actor, and it is the same character. It's just you've got the writer version of the Alan Bennett character, and then you've got the one who wants to live a life and sort of like meander with other people. And so, yeah, you've got two different versions of Alan Bennett inside the house. And the film itself, this is not a negative towards the movie, but it plays a lot like Last of the Summer Wine, like an episode of that. Or people in the US would not have a clue what The Last of the Summer Wine is. It was a British comedy which was shown on a Sunday night on the BBC in the UK, and it lasted for years and years and years before disappearing off the screen because the actors who were involved started to pass away because of their age. And it plays very much like that. However, the heart and the humour to the film works brilliantly in its favour, and at times I found myself getting ready to start to tear up a little bit. So I think the film itself, if it wasn't for Maggie Smith and Alex Jennings, then it just would have been a really disappointing movie. You could easily replace Alex Jennings with somebody else. You could never replace Maggie Smith. You've got supporting characters around him played by Dominic Cooper, James Corden, Jim Broadbent, Russell Tovey, Francis de la Tour. So you've got a British who's who alongside that, and they only get fleeting roles, forgettable fleeting roles as well. So it's all just down to those central performances there, which is handled brilliantly. At times it does miss the mark, but more so it actually hits it, and it definitely needs to be seen. Proof that it's not just also for people over the age of 50. In my screening, there was actually a group of kids who were actually quite well behaved, apart from taking off their shoes and putting their feet on the seats in front of them. That was the only nasty thing they did throughout the film. They didn't talk throughout it, so they were interested in the movie. So it's for pretty much every age.
Okay, on to Steve Jobs, which is now it's a thing that I didn't know beforehand going into it, that it wasn't really a Steve Jobs story, as in following Steve Jobs biography, sort of, biopic thing. It's not that kind of thing. What it is actually is it's kind of more of a stage play thing that's been adapted and made to the screen. It is a story of basically 3 acts, each act which is essentially the same, but from different periods of releases of new technology that Steve Jobs was involved in. Starting off with the first Apple Mac. Then with the next machine that he went on to work on, and then on to the iMac later on. And it's essentially, it's a weird thing of that it actually owes a lot to things like Birdman, because it's a film that is all, each of the 3 acts is set around the kind of the half an hour that leads up to that press release, that thing that's happening. It's all sort of following around behind the sets, behind the stage of what is going on, and the whole thing of him walking around setting this up, when at the same time then, you know, things come to light, everyone starts having sort of arguments, things aren't quite working, so you kind of see the sort of the man that Steve Jobs is. You see him come out and be not necessarily vicious, but being quite sort of strong-willed and very, very much sort of one-directional, focused on what he wants, what this has to do, why it has to be this way, and such. Whereas you have all the people around him, you have certain people such as the cast, including Kate Winslet plays Joanna Hoffman, who is sort of one of the sort of head of marketing of Apple with him, and you have in there Seth Rogen, who plays Steve Wozniak, who is one of the sort of programmers that's worked on other Apple products in particular. There's this whole thing going on between him and Steve Jobs where he's pushing for him to sort of acknowledge all the people that were involved in a previous version, and Jobs is, no, we're not looking back, we're going forward, we're not going to be looking at the stuff that we did. That's 7 years out of date, it's no longer applicable, it's going to be made redundant soon. We're just looking forward at this new product, and shows you the sort of the determined nature of Steve Jobs, so much so to the fact that it was rather quite detrimental to him in kind of a personal life capacity. Here's a clip.
I was angry. You were saying things about the Apple II, and the way you were treating the team was...
You get a free pass for life. I gotta get back on stage. We got like 2 minutes of rehearsal time left.
Do you understand how condescending that just was? Well, I mean, maybe you don't.
I don't want to see you get dragged off.
I get a free pass for life from you. You give out the pass. You give them to me.
You're gonna have a stroke, little buddy.
What did you do? What did you do? Why has Lisa not heard of me?
Man, how many fourth graders have heard of you?
You can't write code. You're not an engineer. You're not a designer. You can't put a hammer to a nail. I built the circuit board. The graphical interface was stolen from Xerox PARC. Jeff Raskin was the leader of the Mac team before you threw him off his own project. Everything, someone else designed the box. So how come 10 times in a day, I read Steve Jobs as a genius? What do you do?
I play the orchestra. And you're a good musician. You sit right there. You're the best in your row.
I came here to clear the air. Do you know why I came here?
Can you just answer that?
I came here because you're going to get killed. Your computer's going to fail.
Yeah, during that clip there, he said to Steve Wozniak, calm down, little buddy, you'll have a stroke.
Yeah.
Now, is that his arrogance throughout the film? Because if somebody said that to me, I would want to slap them, especially saying, little buddy. It just adds more just childishness to it.
There's that kind of trait to him of that his kind of contriteness for other people, for people that don't sort of see the world in the same way he does. I mean, there's at one point you have there's in all three of these acts you have the same characters that turn up at some point and make an appearance, and amongst them, as I said earlier on about Jeff Daniels is one of the characters who pops up at one point, and during their conversation it's then he says about, you're the only person who sees the world as I do, and then later on they have arguments, and you see through very, very cleverly edited backwards and forwards of flashbacks of the two of them in an argument, and then how it sort of spiraled out of control, and how, not personally, but how in a business fashion it became a case of, well, it's him or me kind of a thing, and it's the personality sort of clash and conflict, even though he's someone who sees the world in the sort of same way he does. You have this world. I mean, you had the whole thing there as well with the character with Wozniak, as not necessarily shown as being like that, but you have at one point that Steve Jobs actually kind of says to someone else, you don't get to treat Wozniak like that. Wozniak is kind of Rain Man, and you don't get to treat Rain Man like that. You be nice to him. So in other ways, he's like not necessarily being horrible, but he kind of had that view of that he's above him and looking after him because he's his friend.
What would you do if somebody actually treated you like that? If you knew that you were sort of like the brains behind the operation, yet this guy, he thinks that he's the almighty god, he's the ultimate puppet master, pulling all the strings, pretty much saying that what I see here is what you're doing. Yeah, and I mean that's the thing that's just really good about it, is because the fact that the characters do act out in a realistic way. Because I mean you've got those sort of the performances from, I mean, Michael Fassbender is, anyway, you're going to get a good performance from Michael Fassbender. Kate Winslet is good in this. I have issues with her accent because she's playing someone who's supposed to be from a Polish background, but also has, I think it's Armenian and supposed to be an American sort of mixed in. And I found her accent kind of wavered at certain points and got stronger and weaker at different points. And you have Seth Rogen there. Seth Rogen is actually the standout performance in the whole film for me. Not taking anything away from Michael Fassbender, but just because Michael Fassbender is constantly always that good that you would be disappointed if he's not that good. But Seth Rogen does a great acting, dramatic performance here. Jeff Daniels as well. Like I said, he's kind of disappeared, gone away, and then come back and really kind of made a name for himself in not necessarily a leading role, but in great supporting roles like this as well. The thing with this is because it is written by Aaron Sorkin,
and it's directed by Danny Boyle. Now, I am an Aaron Sorkin fan. I do love Aaron Sorkin's work. I love his TV shows like The West Wing, which I never thought I would, because I was never big into sort of political things, but I love that, and all these other things, like obviously, you know, with Jeff Daniels doing The Newsroom, there was a thing called Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, and then of course the Social Network, which was again kind of about a historical character that made advances in technology, only not as much on sort of a long scale as Steve Jobs did, which was obviously Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook. Now, the thing is, and I could not all the way through help but compare this to The Social Network, for those reasons of those similarities of the main character being like that, and it being around someone who pushed technology and advanced technology, and just the difference in technique and direction style between David Fincher, who I absolutely love, and Danny Boyle, who I'm not so big a fan of, but acknowledge that he is a great director. And in that respect, I found it wanting. It basically is, and I don't think it's just down to Danny Boyle's direction, because I think Danny Boyle's direction is perfectly fine in it. It's good in it. The problem I have is that the issue with the script and taking it in this way, where you've taken basically 3 sections of this person's life and focused intently on everything happening in those, you know, half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is, that leads up to when they had these big, you know, on stage, you know, like the TED Talks and the big CEX things, you know, the big what they call the expos and stuff like that, where they reveal the new technology and everyone completely loses their mind over it, because you never see the whole thing of the performance on stage of what's happening. It's all about leading up to that behind. That's why I say it's got more in connection actually with Birdman, I think, because it's very much shot in those styles. It's not done in single movements, single camera movements, but it's all that set behind the stage sort of thing. And it's got these things where it kind of feels very much though the problem is then, and it's even pointed out at one point by Steve Jobs himself, saying at one point he goes, why is it that half an hour before I go on I'm going live on stage to do this, that everybody decides to get drunk and come and tell me their views on everything? And it literally feels like that, because the fact is that you're here for just a period, you don't get to see what happened between these. You get to see like the whole thing of the first section is about the release of the Mac, and Steve Jobs going, oh, this is going to sell 1 million units in the first, you know, so long, and then it's going to be 20,000 every month afterwards thereof, and it doesn't. It failed. But the only thing you see of that is that when it comes at the end, you get on the screen, you know, you get like quick snippets of the news saying, you know, oh, it's underperformed, it's done badly, and then it cuts to so many years later with him then releasing his next big thing, which was the Next. That was actually the NEXT, and the thing that really just bugged me is that you don't get to see what happened between these, and it was like 4 years apart. And I just wanted to know more about what happened during that time. I hated the fact that we just glossed over that. I love the fact that it's a great sort of drama piece, like a stage play, but it just felt like it was deciding to go, oh, well, don't worry about that, we just want to focus on this bit. And for me, a film that is called Steve Jobs should focus more on him and not on the whole thing of the Apple, or not the whole thing of the selling performance of it. It should be more about him and more of his personal life, more of how he began, because that's only alluded to and shown in very quick flashbacks. It just felt very much like it was misdirecting you from what it should be, and that was a big problem for me. As I say, it's really well directed, it's nicely written, it's actually quite light for Aaron Sorkin, because a lot of Aaron Sorkin thing it's got to be very compressed, very quick-witted, very quickly written. And saying about that as well, quick-witted, there are some moments in it which are funny, but there are a lot of moments in it when it didn't get a laugh from myself or the audience where it was trying to. It felt too much like it was trying to. So as much as I really did like it, and I hate that I'm putting it down, because I really did enjoy it, but I just afterwards found myself going, well, I was disappointed. I wanted it to be this, I got this, and it didn't match up.
Again, on to the Halloween, which is a tiny little Irish movie, also known in the US called The Woods. It's directed by Corin Hardy. It's a small little you can classify it as a horror movie, but it's more in fairy tale-esque in a way. It stars Joseph Mall, who plays Adam Hitchens, and his wife, who's played by Bojan Novakovic, who plays Claire, and he's a conservationist. I eventually got my words out there. And he is moved to a small little house in the middle of a wood where he's tasked to check the trees, look at the trees, see what's happening with them, because he discovers this black kind of mucus stuff that seems to be emitting itself from the trees. However, something else might be afoot in there when he's told by the villagers, the very much like pitchfork kind of villagers, that you should not have disturbed the trees, because living in those trees is sort of like these fairy / goblins / demonic creatures called the Hallow, and once you disturb them, you cannot stop them, which this clip will actually prove.
Where? In here. Where have you been?
What's happened?
You okay? I tried to call you. Colin was here.
In the house? Take her upstairs. Call the police.
Adam, what's going on? Answer me.
Just call the police.
Adam? Do you know how to use that?
It doesn't matter.
No, it's not right.
It's just in case. Until the police arrive.
Now, what you get with The Hallow is a bit of a muddled film, a bit of a misguided film, and it's unfortunate because both parts, what the director does, Corin Hardy, brings to the forefront, are actually pretty strong, but they don't work together. Because in one section of it, you've got a very Straw Dogs kind of, in a way, people disturbing their home, breaking into their home and sort of like trying to be very malevolent in that kind of backwater way, and it adds tension to the movie. But then also you've got this brilliant creature effect kind of horror movie on that instance, something that you would see from the mind of like Guillermo del Toro, and it's just a pity because the director does not know how to meld them together, and when he tries to do it, he makes a mess. He just doesn't seem to know that the structure of one does not work with the other. Because when you've got fantastical elements in a movie, you need the drama stuff to be strong, and coupling it with a home invasion thing, it doesn't work, because you're using two different kinds of horror movies that should never be together. You would not watch a Straw Dogs kind of movie and expect an alien to burst through the window. That's just not what you expect. It's a human horror, and so in that instance, the film itself unfortunately doesn't work. If the director decided to do two different movies and do it sort of like a Straw Dogs Home Invasion one, and also did a sort of like a Guillermo del Toro fantasy kind of nasty, gribbly kind of movie, then fine, it would have worked. But because he decided to do both in the same film, it just doesn't work, which is a shame, because I think the creature effect, what he's done for The Hallow, is fantastic. They're all proper practical effects as well. It's not CGI. They're all proper creatures that humans are actually playing, or they used animatronics. And so on that front, well done to him. There's very few directors who will actually do that, and that's what makes it strong. It's just a bit of a muddled movie.
Okay, so the last film in cinema release this section is Fathers and Daughters. It is directed by Gabriel Muccino. It's based on a novel, I believe, but it's a thing of that it's a weird thing that I'm going to have to say to explain how it sets up. It's essentially two stories that run concurrently side by side. One is of a father and his daughter, played by Russel Crowe, and I'm not sure of the young actor, I think it's Kylie Rogers is her name, who are sort of living together after her mother's killed in a car accident. The two of them are not so great together because of the fact of that her father is suffering from some kind of issue relating to the accident, which has left him kind of having seizures. He is a novelist and writes several well-known novels, but has now written one which has not been so well received, and things are not going so great for him after he's been sort of a spell at a psychiatric hospital. Comes back out to find that his sister-in-law and her husband want to adopt, against his will, his daughter. Cut to so many years later, and his daughter has grown up, played by now Amanda Seyfried, who is living her life and is, as a result of things in her past, unable to sort of make connections with people and make a sort of a loving relationship, being a proper loving relationship with someone, when along comes Aaron Paul's character, and she sort of struggles to decide, you know, and work with him as to actually whether or not they could have a relationship and a life together. Don't have a clip for this because it didn't get any clips really released in English, at least. And the thing is, it's a film that has those two storylines running concurrently. I don't mean that it has, you know, one story going, then it cuts back to things that relate to that. I mean, you have literally the two stories as if it can't make up its mind which one it is, and then it cuts back and forth between them, kind of like sort of like Cloud Atlas does, with the whole thing of 6 stories running side by side. It just cuts back and forth them, but there is, in Cloud Atlas, there is sort of things that connect between the stories as it cuts back and forth between them. Here you have the two stories which, although they are connected for obvious reasons, and things that happen in one do then affect another one later on, there's no correlation between when you see something in one story and when you see sort of the outcome of it in the next. It's really been misjudged as to how to tell these two stories and show them. It should have been, and I mean, I know it's trying to be unconventional, but it should have gone more conventional with it and just had the present day story with the older daughter played, and then you see things in flashback that as relative as they are to the events of the story as they happen. So, you know, when something happens, you go, oh, cut back, see this happen, you go, oh, that's why she's like this, because you see then and understand the character's behaviour more. And it's a shame, because it does have the settings of a fairly, not brilliant, but a fairly good drama here, and good sort of performances from it. Not especially for Amanda Seyfried. She's perfectly fine. She does above average for her. Aaron Paul is sort of instrumental, and that's it. Not necessarily because of him, but because of the character, the way he's written. Russel Crowe is above average, although kind of doing that whole thing of that you know, oh, you're Russel Crowe, you don't have to be so Russell Crowe-ish, if that makes sense. Okay. But it's got the most outstanding, surprising, is this Kylie Rogers, who plays the young daughter, who's really, really good at certain points of it, and actually is quite emotional in certain parts. That I was quite impressed with her performance. But the problem is with it, just all the way through it, and I'm someone who generally follows a narrative when it's even broke up and stuff like this. I got to the end of it and I just went, you shouldn't have done that. You should have done it more conventionally. You should have done it as flashbacks, not as the two stories running side by side. Because there's even moments where you have the character of the older daughter, Amanda Seyfried's character, walk past her school, and she sort of sees herself run out of the school, run past her, screaming "Dad!" and run into the arms of her father, and then it carries on from that time. So he even tries to make those connections of her having flashbacks to, oh, this happened when I was a kid, but it just doesn't decide to carry on with them. It doesn't want to be one story and how it's affected by the other. It wants to be these two stories and how it basically wants to have its cake and eat it and do both at the same time, and that doesn't work at all.
Cake. I could do with some cake right now, actually.
Yeah, don't start me actually, because I know I'm thinking I want cake too, but I might do that during the ad.
You've only got 30 seconds though to go and rush and get some cake. It's probably not enough time.
Yeah.
So you don't want to come back and what films have we got in the DVD Blu Ray section?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm going to start here. Okay, we're back in a minute.
From page to screen.
So they have, 9 times out of 10, they have to send it back to you unopened or just throw it in the garbage can.
Things don't always look exactly as we envision our life to look, but sometimes it works out and turns out even better.
Gregor Fisher, his bacon number is 2 because he was appeared with January Jones in Love Actually, and January Jones and Kevin Bacon appeared in X-Men First Class together.
I've got to say, the very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas, now that just makes me want to rush out.
It's about the acting and about the writing. That's really what theatre is for me.
Probably had more names than Prince or whatever. Never mind, there's a joke for the oldies. It'd be like, who's Prince? Who's he? I'd just like to see Mr. Freeze hiring his bad guys going, right, okay, so you're a psycho, right, can you ice skate? Head over to iTunes, Spreaker and Stitcher and put in the search box From Page to Screen.
Right, welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. We're into the home release section where I cannot wait to find out what you think of this movie, the first film, and if you don't like it, I'm quitting. But yeah, we're looking at these films.
Yeah, we have, of course, Minions is the one you're referring to. Then we have The Gallows with horror. We have a drama with John Travolta in The Forger. We have is it a thriller with Stranger? Horror? Is it horror again? Okay. And then we have kind of a comedy horror of sorts with The Legend of Barney Thomson.
Comedy horror?
Yeah, well, comedy. It's one of those kind of weird, kind of. It's a disturbing comedy.
Yeah. Okay. And on top of that, we have our TV movie of the week and movie of the week. And before I get onto the DVD Blu Ray top 10, I'm ashamed of absolutely everybody out there because Song of the Sea, which is definitely going to be included in my animated films of the year, only went in at number 81. I can sort of be classified as the blame for that because I didn't buy it. However, I am going out to buy a copy of it tomorrow because I did win a little bit of money over the weekend, which is nice when that happens. And yeah, I don't want to see movies like this to be languishing in an area where nobody has seen it because it is such an outstanding little film that it deserves every bit of praise that it gets. Unfortunately, though, the 10 films that are in the top 10, a couple of them, maybe, yeah, fine, I'll let them off with it, but the rest of them deserve to be at the bottom of some kind of horrible heap. So yeah, at number 10 is a new entry for Ronaldo.
I haven't seen this, but I mean, it's a documentary. Is it a documentary? Yeah, it's a documentary.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the right word to search. Yeah, a documentary about the footballer, the famous footballer. I don't think you've seen it yet either.
No, but it's about Cristiano Ronaldo, about how he, how he's with his son, how football has affected his life, going from everywhere from Manchester United to Real Madrid to his playing career at Portugal, and the fact that he is languishing a bit at Portugal at the moment, and how much his family life might have affected that. And for somebody who's not seen the film, I seem to know a lot about it.
Yeah, you do. And the thing is, it's about football. Neither of us are into football.
I am, actually.
Are you? I didn't think you were.
Yeah, I've been supporting a football club, which is Newcastle United, even though I live in Sunderland, since I was about 4. I'm more into rugby than I'm into football, but I do know a lot about football, surprisingly.
Who knew?
Which is a shock for you, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just like,
Yeah, and number 9 is Paddington.
Yeah, which is a great film. It is it's one of those ones that's a rare one. It's a great family film that you can watch with anyone of any age, old and young. And it's just brilliantly done with a great performance from Ben Whishaw in the title role voicing Paddington, as well as everyone on screen with the CG character, which works on so many levels.
Yeah, and I'm just having a quick go through the chart, and I can't see Get Santa. Oh, there's there. I was going to say Get Santa also has been killed by the chart, but it's at number 40. At number 8 is Mad Max Fury Road.
Definitely in my top films of the year. A crazy action adventure range from start to finish of the full 2 hours, and surprisingly very little sort of story, but you don't need it in this. It's a classic film, and it's a classic action film that you don't get made nowadays anymore.
At number 7 is San Andreas,
which is just totally not. I was going to say totally not memorable, but it is for certain things. But it's really, I mean, it is just missing the name Roland Emmerich from it, and just it's unremarkable disaster movie. It should be better than that.
Well, Roland Emmerich is busy too much alienating himself from the homosexual community, considering the travesty of his latest film and how much it's killed itself at the US box office for treating homosexuals the wrong way. So he's decided to do that instead of. It's sort of like when he decided to do that Shakespeare movie. Go away from doing what he's supposedly does best.
Which was not as bad as a lot of people made it out to be, because I did see it.
So doing something like that, and so you would expect Roland Emmerich's name to be strapped on it, and it's got The Rock, who is the most luckiest guy in the world ever, because he's able to stumble across vehicles which are in perfectly pristine condition for him to rescue the one and only person that he's out there has got any interest in, and that is his daughter. You expect John McClane to crop up and go, I can help, or even Liam Neeson going, you want my help too? I can find your daughter.
No, Liam Neeson should be, do you want my particular set of skills?
So it's a mess of a movie. And number 6 is Big Hero 6.
La 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 la.
Fa la 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 la. Wrong one. Number 5 is Nativity 3. Dude, where's my donkey?
I haven't seen this and I have no intention.
Yeah, dude, what's the point? Because have you actually seen any of them?
No.
Good. And number 4 is Jurassic World.
Which is, I'll put it this way, it's a good Jurassic film. Jurassic World film, Jurassic Park film. But it's not, I don't think it's as great as everyone's made it out to be. I think it actually is a little bit of a underwhelming film when you think about it. It's one of those films that you watch it, it's got this big thing to it, and then afterwards, you're thinking about it. No, it wasn't as good as it made itself out to be. It was a little bit deceptive. I mean, it's just more of the same repetitiveness of the previous films. It's better than the third one, but I mean, is that very hard to do? No, not really.
And I'm so glad that they haven't got one Antonio Bayona on board to direct the sequel, because he's busy doing a Monster Calls, which I definitely cannot wait for, one of my eager films of next year, and World War Z 2. And so I think he chose the right option with World War Z 2 rather than doing Jurassic World 2. Because Jurassic World 2 will probably help his career and get him even bigger films. I think World War Z 2, though, is much more Bayona's kind of ballpark rather than dinosaurs.
I think they should see how Justin Lin does with the new Star Trek film and then consider offering him it.
I think it'll be a bit too late, though.
Yeah, probably.
By the time he finishes shooting Star Trek, the next one, and it comes out, etc., they'll want Jurassic World 2 to be out in cinemas by 2017. It's just too much to ask from him for to actually do that. So I know Colin Trevorrow has said that he will not direct the next one.
But he'll be producing.
Yeah, and so it just depends on who they decide to get in for doing that. It would be interesting if they go down the route of Edgar Wright or somebody like that. Number 3 is Terminator Genesis.
Yeah. I quite enjoyed Terminator Genesis. It is not by any means a brilliant Terminator film, but it is definitely better than the last two that we've had. It's not as good as James Cameron's 2 films, but I mean, as agreeable as James Cameron has said, it is a worthy follow-up to them. If you haven't seen 3 or 4, if you have and you want to forget them, then watch Terminator 1 and 2 and then watch Terminator Genesis and go, you know what, actually it's okay, I don't mind it. It's not brilliant. It's got Jai Courtney back in his terrible performance roles. I don't know how he's managed to get work, I really don't, but it's not a terrible film. It is. I don't understand how some people have been very, very snooty about it, but given the fact of the previous 2 Terminator films, which this is definitely better than.
You know what, rare and scary that it is, I'm going to agree with you on that, because Rise of the Machines is awful, Salvations is atrocious. So I actually prefer this one over the previous 2 Terminator films. That's not saying I really like this.
No.
It's just because the fact that it firmly has its tongue in its cheek. It doesn't take itself completely serious with it. It has a little bit of fun, because if you look at Schwarzenegger's character in there, he has sort of like the kind of childish humour to him, so it has that, so at least it realises what it was, where Salvation took itself way too seriously and Rise of the Machines hadn't a clue what the hell it was doing. So that at least this one knew the direction it was going down. It's just the direction that it was going down, it needed to ask for multiple directions to get there.
Yeah, and I would say this actually about it, the time travel story, the time travel elements of it, for me at least, did make sense.
I think for me it just made itself more muddly than what it was. You need to watch other films very much like this, like Predestination or something like that.
You need to have your head around sort of the idea of time travel.
If you're attempting time travel, it needs to be very complex, but coherently complex and not complexly muddled. And number 2 is the new entry for Frozen Fever.
I haven't seen this, but I think this is just one of these short ones that's been released just before Christmas, isn't it? The small.
It is it actually, if you saw Cinderella, you would have seen this, because this was the Frozen short that was attached to Cinderella, and they released it separately on DVD and Blu Ray.
So they haven't released it on the Cinderella Blu Ray then?
No, it is actually on the Cinderella Blu Ray as well.
They've released it separately as well.
It was actually shown before it in the cinema. It's just they thought, let's cash in on the Frozen kind of thing at Christmas, because we don't have anything Frozen related. Why don't we just release it on its own on the DVD and Blu Ray? You know how long it's on for? 15 minutes.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Which is just a major cash cow on that front. I think they might have a couple of extra shorts attached to it, but shorts attached to a short, it's money much. And number one is in You're Entry for Spy,
which is, I'm going to say it's Paul Fei's best film, and it's not bad.
Agreed.
It's actually funny in parts, thanks largely to Jason Statham. And it actually has a story and a plot, and Melissa McCarthy isn't entirely as annoying as she has been in previous films.
Sometimes. I know, interjecting a lot of times there, but yeah, it is Feig's best film. That's not to say that his career is brilliant anyway, but it was about the time that he was actually going to start to make movies that weren't annoying and make you want to punch him in the face. Indeed. Right, you have those small, yellow, brilliant little sort of like tic-tac kind of creatures to review.
Yeah, Minions. So it's directed by Kyle Balda and Pierre Coffin. It is the spin-off of those little yellow characters, as you said, from Despicable Me. Starts off with a whole backstory, which is voiced over brilliantly by Jeffrey Rush, explaining the whole thing of the Minions have been, around since the start of time, and that they were sort of just all the time looking for the most badass sort of villain to follow and worship, kind of thing, and have be their leader. As you see through all the sort of, as you see in the trailer, you see all these bits of things, Dracula and stuff like that, which are extremely amusing. To present day.
Sorry to interject, which, by the way, that section there is extended on the home release.
Film. I mean, it's just like
over than the cinema.
Yeah,
because if you, I've seen.
I haven't seen the cinema though.
And so in the cinema one, that section there is slightly shorter than what it is on home release. So there's a few extra bits and bobs in the home release.
I didn't know that. But basically, it's all following them to present day, where obviously they are with Gru from Despicable Me. But before Gru, there was the issue of them having gone through so many different followers and basically because of the Minions suffering untimely deaths. The Minions then found themselves sort of left to sort of wander the land. They end up finding themselves in a cave where they seem to be thriving really well in sort of the Arctic, and then over time become sort of very kind of tired and they have no one to follow, so they have no purpose in life. Of course, then this means that three of them decide to go on the road, led by Kevin, Bob, and Stuart.
Hello.
Yeah. You could have done it. You could have tried to do it at least minion-y.
Hello.
Yeah, better. And of course, the three of them head off to try and find sort of a new leader for the rest of the Minions, finding themselves in New York and ultimately leading themselves to the villains. I forgot what it's called actually. The Villains Expo thing. I can't remember what it is, but that's the one. Yeah. I can't believe you did that. But it's here amongst all the sort of the numerous villains, they see this big new super villain, the extravagant Scarlet Overkill, voiced by Sandra Bullock. Here's a clip. Yes, your fault.
It is time to get down to business. Do you know who this is?
La cucaracha?
This is Queen Elizabeth, ruler of England. Oh, I love England. The music, the fashion. I'm seriously thinking about overthrowing it someday. Anyway, this pale drink of water oversees it all. I'm her biggest fan. Love her work. And I really, really, really want her crown. Steal me the crown and all your dreams come true. Respect. Power.
Banana!
banana.
Yeah, of course. How would it be a Minion film without banana?
Yeah, honestly, I have seen this film 4 times, and
Yeah.
I can pretty much quote it now.
And I can understand it because of the fact of that it's just stupid, crazy fun. It's just it's this whole thing of the Minions are even. You have right at the very opening of the film, the Universal music as it's played over the thing is actually the Minion. Yeah, it's just from then you just start laughing and you don't stop. And there's little bits of the humour in them, and they slap each other around and the stupidness of them. And when they're on the boat and travelling to New York, and they basically starting to starve themselves, and one of them looks at another and they think they're bananas and stuff and start trying to eat each other and stupid things like that. And it's if you like Despicable Me, as much as this is not necessarily the same thing, because it's a very different kind of film. It's not one with as much as you have the character of Scarlet Overkill in there, it's not one that's like the Despicable Me films. It is with the Minions are the main characters, and it's stupid. It's stupid. It shouldn't be as fun as this. It really should be, 10 minutes in and you're going scratching your head, going, "Why am I watching this? Why am I laughing at this?" But you're not. You're just sitting there laughing your ass off because it's that much fun. It's stupid and it's just fun.
Just a couple of things. One thing I didn't like about it, I didn't like Scarlet Overkill.
I didn't mind Scarlet Overkill. I hated I don't know who voiced her, but her lackey. I can't.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
I found it insanely annoying.
Yeah, but I think Scarlet Overkill was a bit of a misstep when it comes to them looking for a bad guy. But because of the fact that the Minions are in it a lot, you can slightly forgive it. The one thing I want to ask from you, if you laughed at a section which every single time I watch it I cannot stop laughing, it's at the Tower of London involving guards, the hat which persuades people to do whatever the Minions want them to do, and the song Hair.
It made me laugh, but not brilliantly.
I couldn't stop laughing
really?
at that, because when they start dancing around and smacking each other's bottom and all that kind of stuff, I was just dead with laughter.
No, I mean, I don't know if maybe it's because I saw that was spoiled by the trailer, maybe. I don't know, but it wasn't as big a thing. I was like, kind of, okay, yeah, on to the next bit kind of thing. I did think it was a bit much, but I'd still laughed at it. But I was just kind of like, yeah, okay, I did the whole, the Minion giggle move, that's it. But I know I'm looking forward to. The thing is, I'm just disappointed. It's probably going to be the next thing we'll see them in. Will be a Despicable Me 3,
it is.
And not Minions 2. Because although I don't know how you do Minion 2 really, what they're going to do.
Well, Pierre Coffin, who does the voice of all the Minions, every single Minion is voiced by him.
Yeah, it's just him. It's just him with his French accent sped up.
Yeah, there isn't somebody else who does the voices of the Minions. It's all Pierre Coffin. And he has turned around and said the next film is Despicable Me 3. And like you said, he doesn't know where to take the Minions from there and their own separate film.
Yeah.
Which, in a way, it's sort of like a good thing, because then the studio could look at it and go, let's do a Minions film and a Despicable Me 3. It could be overkill Minions-wise, which might start to dilute them a lot. So if we only get the Minions in their own movie once every 3 years, that's fine. Good, because then it might give them a chance, Pierre Coffin, to try and create something different in that time, while it gets a studio to work on Minions and the next Despicable Me film, and also tries to create something different, because he can't create the Minions movies for the rest of his life. So it might give him a chance to do that. And it's not like a company video game wise like an Activision who makes a Call of Duty game every single year. I'm so glad that they're not doing that with Minions, because like I said, it would be like watching a Resident Evil film or a Saw movie, diluted badly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the thing that I kind of want to see more though still, but I agree that, don't make them too quickly, because you end up with something like Hotel Transylvania 2 when you want Hotel Transylvania 1, Yeah,
well, our next taste of the Minions is in 2017.
Yeah.
That's when Despicable Me 3 is rumoured to be released. So we've got 2 years to wait for the next lot of Minions-related movie madness. And there's going to be a few more shorts released next year.
Oh,
so that's a good way to actually whet the appetite. At least do multiple shorts rather than one short and then release that one short on its own on DVD. Frozen. my first DVD release of the week is The Gallows. I've got 2 horror movies. Unfortunately, not very good ones at that. But The Gallows, directed by Travis Clough and Chris Loafing, and give you a clue of how badly implemented, badly created, badly everything The Gallows is. All of the actors who were involved in it haven't been given character names. They've just been told to use their own names as the characters in it. So it's fine if you have a sort of like fake documentary one when they do that. But when you have a found footage movie, at least you could give them different names. So Reese Mishler, who's in it, he's called Reese. Pfeiffer Brown, she plays Pfeiffer. Ryan Shoes, who plays Ryan. And Cassidy Gifford, who's, yeah, you can probably guess where I'm going. And it centres around a play that's happened in a school called The Gallows in the 1970s went completely wrong when one of the members of the people who are acting it out ends up getting killed, dies in the gallows itself. Fast forward to present day, and now the school thinks it's a fantastic idea to put exactly the same play on. These 3 kids decide to break into the school because they want to destroy the gallows to stop the play from happening, and evil, bad things happen. Here's a clip.
Why would you say that? Pfeiffer, it was my idea, all right? Pfeiffer, please. You listen, Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer, it was my idea.
Stop talking for a second. You've done enough.
This play is an embarrassment.
Shut up!
You're going to embarrass everybody. This needs to stop.
What? I took that noose down. Reese, I took that down. You saw me take it down, man.
The stairs?
Can you guys please stop messing with me? This isn't funny.
We're not messing with you.
What did you guys do?
Shut up.
Don't tell me to shut
Stop, Pfeiffer. What do we do?
Go to the office. There's a phone there.
Right, now, you've just listened to that clip there. What did you think of the characters? Just from the general clip that you heard.
What characters?
Yeah, that does sum them up, but...
Yeah, no, so I just heard 2 guys and 1 woman, and basically talking about a noose that he took down, but it's still there, presumably. And
yeah,
they're just kind of, you know, one of them's going to be dead within 5 minutes of that or something.
You know, you've just pretty much reviewed the film, because it's what characters and how annoying they are. The film itself is aggravating. It is really aggravating because you've just got 3/4 characters waffling on throughout the film, just kids being annoying at kids. It takes around about 45-50 minutes to even contemplate thinking about doing something. And then when it does, you just question yourself, I had to wait that long, what the hell am I doing? The promotional material for this says that Charlie, who is this person who died, who now is the bad, malevolent guy, they said the new face of horror. He shows up in the film about 2 minutes. That's it. In the entirety of the film, he's in it for about 2 minutes, and he's only just standing there, looking like just a statue, doing absolutely nothing. And he's supposed to be the new face of horror, when in fact, you sneeze under a mirror, and that's the new face of horror. You just, honestly, it's really badly implemented. There is no scares in it whatsoever. There is no tension in it whatsoever. The actors, in a way, the worst thing for them is the fact that they're playing themselves. Rather than playing characters, you can go, oh, fine, you're an actor who's playing a character. You've got your own name. So you're playing yourself, and if this is what you're like, please God, if I see a movie with your name attached to it, I'm avoiding it. Because I don't want to see you in any kind of films if you're that annoying. So the film itself, it's under the Jason Blum banner, it's under the Blumhouse banner. It cost about $2-3 million to make. It made about $20 million at the box office, easily got its money back. Jason Blum was happy, everybody else was going, why the hell did I see this?
Okay, on to The Forger, which is directed by Philip Martin. It stars John Travolta as a convicted art forger who is near to the end of his sentence but learns that his son, who's on the outside without a mother and living with his grandfather, is terminally ill with a form of cancer. So makes a deal to get out of prison early with a sort of mob boss, and as part of the deal that he makes with his mob boss is that he will forge a painting and then steal the original painting and deliver it to him. Of course, this doesn't necessarily make things easy. It's a whole thing of that, and the whole relationship with his son, who he hasn't been present for a large part of his life because he's been in jail, and things kind of get a bit messy in that regard as well, with his son sort of saying, eventually saying, I want to be involved, I want to get in on this because you did this to help me. It's a film, I don't have a clip for this, but basically, I mean, it's a film that it's really not any good. It's very, very slow paced. It's quite a sort of a waste of material. It's an hour and a half long, and it feels like it's 2 hours, not in a good way, and it doesn't really seem to go anywhere for the majority of that. You wish that it would go further. It could have been a really interesting, have this whole thing of a good heist film or a good thriller, and it doesn't do either. It just kind of muddles around in the middle, and it almost sort of wants to be a drama, but it then just doesn't really take advantage of the setup that it gives itself with the characters, and especially with someone potentially having, cancer of some sort. Doesn't really even pay off with that as a particularly emotional thing. It just is very, very underwhelming and just doesn't have any idea of what it wants to do. It just muddles all the way through it and then just end up doing nothing.
The Stranger, directed by Guillermo Amodé, and it's presented by Eli Roth. Now, Amodó, that's his actual name, I screwed it up the first time around, but Amodó, his previous film was a movie called Aftershock, which was a movie which he decided to mix a horror with the disaster film. So it's a film about when earthquakes hit and then zombies or something like that come and kill people. It's got Eli Roth in it, and he presented it also. In this one, he decides to try his hand at a vampire movie, sort of like a low-budget kind of vampire film, not specifically centered around them going around sucking people's blood, but in fact about a guy who's going from small town to small town, trying to hunt down his wife, who is she's gone missing or ran off, and she's supposedly had his child, and he needs to try and track her down. He finds himself in a small town where he's beaten badly by this group of people because he will not get off the seat. Then throughout the film, it's just about every character in this movie being beaten badly by this group of 3 normal kids. One of them gets burned badly, and the police officer decides to beat up some other people to try and get answers what happened to his kid. Then his kid comes back to life normal and beats up other people, and I absolutely despise this film. I really despised it because the fact that all the movie tries to say is, if you can't get your own way, just beat up somebody. And it's a movie about somebody constantly being beaten up, or somebody beating up somebody else. The father being angry at his son beating up somebody, decides to have a bit of a moan because he's a police officer, then beats up other people to try and get answers for the evil stuff that his son's done. It's horrible. I was really angry at this movie. I actually stuck through it to the end because when you're reviewing films, you need to watch the entirety of it to be able to get it all across. But the movie, when a movie makes you angry, you know you need to stop watching it. You just know that watching anything more can maybe cause some horrible damage. And I implore anybody out there who is interested in any kind of movie whatsoever to avoid this, not just like the plague, but like the worst kind of disease anybody can ever imagine. It is that bad. Aftershock I didn't like. Stuart Bannerman, who's from Page to Screen, he actually quite liked Aftershock. If he likes this, I'm quitting the horror show.
Don't make any promises.
I will literally say that now. If he likes this, I am quitting the horror show, because it's just, I can't see how people can like such a heinous, horrible, nasty mess of a movie that is this. I know you see movies where people get raped brutally and then come back for revenge. I Spit on a Grave, for example. The sequel it did make me angry, but I was sick of the fact that the movie was just more centered around the woman being raped, getting back some of her power, being raped again, stripped of that, getting it back again, and again being raped again, stripped of that, getting her revenge again. It made up for it with the third film, because the third film portrayed her as a much more stronger character, being able to enact the revenge on the people who caused the hurt on her. In this movie, I just wanted to create hurt to everybody involved, because it made me so angry. I was watching these horrible, nasty, despicable, deplorable, horrendous, heinous characters. It's god-awful.
Okay, on to The Legend of Barney Thomson, which is the directorial debut, even, of Robert Carlyle, who also stars in the film as Barney Thomson, who is a barber in a Glaswegian barbershop. The issue is that he's not particularly he doesn't really have a people sort of skills and people persons. When there's a choice of people waiting to get their hair cut, and he's available next, they kind of go, oh no, it's alright, I'll wait for the next person, and he ends up sort of then, as a result of that, about to be fired, talks himself into sort of being kept around for a while, and unfortunately, as a result of the things sort of going on, not going from bad to worse, he's getting fired and accidentally manages to kill his boss. In a rather sort of grotesque way, with a pair of scissors in someone's back. It's a really sort of odd, kind of dark comedy, very, very dark human comedy film. And what Barney decides to do then, he's got to figure out what to do. It needs to see about dumping a body. So of course he goes to speak to his mother, Semolina, played by Emma Thompson, to get. She is called Semolina. To find out sort of an idea of a good place to dump a body. Here's a clip.
What was the name of that loch you, me and my dad went to? Forest on one side and really hard to get to.
What loch?
That one. The one with all the wee boats.
Loch Lubnig.
Loch Lubnig, that's it. Lubnig.
Why the commotion?
Nothing, just that I saw a painting in a charity shop at the Barras the other day, and I just wondered if it was that.
How do you manage to pack so much excitement into one life? Eh? Seeing as you're here, you can give me a lift to the Barras. It's my bingo night.
No, I'm sorry, Mum. I can't. I'm actually quite busy.
You maybe didn't hear me. It's my bingo night at the Barras!
And you can hear in that clip there from Emma Thompson giving a really good performance in it, and you have in there as well, thrown in a smaller role, Ray Winston, who plays a detective who starts to catch on to the fact of Barney Thomson may have killed these people and what's going on, and the thing is with it, it's a film that starts off very, very well and proceeds very, very well for sort of the first half of it. I then did think that it did kind of start to lose its way a little bit as it gets absolutely bat-crap crazy the more it goes on with things happening and the whole story of what's happening as well with the police at the same time. It is very darkly funny though. There are moments in it that will make you just burst out laughing and just ridiculousness of them and the actual kind of shock humour of them. It's not sort of particularly graphic or bloody. There are bloody scenes in it, but it's not, like Saw or something like that, but it's just humorous about the way it's done. It is a really good performance from Robert Carlyle in the central role as well, but he is outshone by Emma Thompson in her part, and it's a surprisingly enjoyable small indie film which does hit above its weight. So it's a kind of thing that you should definitely check out if you have got a dark sense of humour and you like a good sort of murder sort of black comedy, because it certainly won't disappoint. It's really nicely done. It's just that as it drops towards the end of it, it kind of tails off, and that's where I have an issue with the ending of it. I just found it very much, I kind of wanted to go, don't do that, do something different, do a different way of the ending, but unfortunately sticks with it is. But overall very, very good start for directing from Robert Carlyle.
Right, that's it for the new DVD and Blu Ray releases of the week. TV movies of the week.
Well, I've got two or three. I've got three technically, actually, because I've got one's. Well, actually no, so I've got three because I've got one's on twice in the week. I know, but it's one on Tuesday night. There's a double bill on Tuesday night. Okay, at 9 o'clock, starting with Life of Pi on Film 4. But Life of Pi, Life of Pi is also again though on Sunday the 22nd at 9 as well. So if you don't see it on Tuesday night, you can see it on Sunday. But after it on the Tuesday night,
it's a perfect Sunday night movie. So I think that the Sunday shown is probably the better one.
That's true. But after it on the Tuesday night, if you're in the mood for a double bill, you've got then 11:25 p.m. on Film 4, You're Next, which is a great little indie horror film. Well, I saw it. You remember? I don't know if you remember or not. I saw that at the cinema as well, and I enjoyed it because it was a very nice little indie. I don't mind slasher films. I just don't like horror ones much. This is a good slasher film, and it actually and it's got a couple of moments. There's a great moment with a blender, and some just good setups and good writing and interesting sort of. Not deaths, but just interesting sort of setups of deaths.
Yeah, which includes one of the most goth kinds of scenes involving a body and a bed. It's just what is actually said there, not what's...
it's a lot more implied than what's actually shown, yeah.
Yeah, it just makes you go...
Oh.
He's got a couple of films coming out, Adam wouldn't get anywhere. He's doing the live-action version of Death Note. Which is, I definitely cannot wait for that because Death Note's a very complex one, and so well done for him to handle that.
My other film I've actually got there as well is for Wednesday the 18th on Film 4 again at 11:25 p.m. again. It's Trance, which is the last film that Danny Boyle did with an art heist and memory and such, and it's a very, very deceptively brilliant film because the first hour of it looks like it's total nonsense, and then it starts to kind of it's like one of those films where you start off really well and then it unravels and it gets really bad. This starts off really badly and then ravels and gets really good because then it starts to make sense, and I was really impressed with that because it's very rare that happens.
Yeah, I didn't like that film that much.
I did like it. I really, really liked it. I mean, just this thing of that, obviously Danny Boyle directed Steve Jobs, so
yeah. Out of that lot though, which one would you choose?
This
is a new thing because I know we've done multiple films, but you need to just centre on one.
Purely on the fact of it being a very sort of small indie thing, then You're Next.
Good choice. I have to. It's my Ghibli quarter of the week. I have to mention that, but yeah, there is a couple of Ghibli films on. From Up on Poppy Hill is on Sunday the 22nd at 11 AM on Film 4. So that's my Ghibli quarter of the week done. But also, animated-wise, you've got Paranorman, which is on Film 4 on Sunday the 22nd, also at 5 o'clock.
Very good. Oh yeah, very good. And I also got to point out as well, very rare for it to happen, you have a gay character in a kids' animation film as well.
Yeah, and so which is not that's slight spoiler considered.
No, but it is
slight spoiler considered.
But I didn't say which character.
It's a bit obvious though. And adult-wise, film-wise, another one on Film 4, which is on the 21st of November, which is Saturday at 11:35, Byzantium. Which I love Neil Jordan's movies anyway, but Byzantium, Saoirse Ronan, Jim Ardith, and it's a fantastic non-vampire film.
Yeah, I call it's an unconventional vampire film.
Yeah, which is exactly the way Neil Jordan directs his movies. He doesn't direct any movie with any convention to them. And so you've got that. And also, on a channel which we very rarely mention on here, More Movies. I don't know what it's called on Freeview. I know it's got a different name, but it still shows exactly the same films as More Movies. On Sky and Freesat it's called More Movies.
Okay.
On Freeview, I'm not sure the name of it, but I know it plays exactly the same films. Event Horizon, which is on Thursday night, Thursday the 19th at 11:45. Now, I still think this is Paul W.S. Anderson's best film. I loved Event Horizon. I think Event Horizon is a strong film, but my movie of the week is Byzantium. I was slightly tempted to go for Event Horizon just to annoy the hell out of you.
No, because I really have issues with Event Horizon. I think it's an appalling film.
I love Event Horizon.
I think it looks brilliant. It's got an amazing look to it, but I think it's a terrible film. It's very badly mishandled.
Yeah, it's not a terrible film, but because of the fact that I don't want to fall to the obvious one of choosing a Studio Ghibli movie out of the other two, I think Paranorman is a really good film. I think Byzantium, for me, is a better film. They're completely chalk and cheese, major chalk, even though they're still in the horror genre together. And I think Paranorman is a very well-made kids horror movie, very much like the Monster Squad, even though the Monster Squad was a 15, but very much sort of like an animated version of that. I think Byzantium is the better film, so Byzantium is my choice.
Well, what does it say about us choosing 2 TV horror movies, kind of thing, horror and violent graphic movies, with your next and Byzantium?
On Film 4 as well. It just shows you how brilliant film.
Oh, Film 4 is a great collection of films. There's not a week goes by they don't at least have 1 or 2 really, really good films on, and then they have loads of other good ones as well.
Yep, and so that's it for this week's show. We will be back sometime next week, I think.
It's next Tuesday, because it won't be the Monday.
Yeah, Tuesday at the new normal time of 9 o'clock from now on. I've changed it on the site. If you look at the post, I've actually put 8:30.
I was later because of the fact that I was struggling to see 2 films today. I didn't have time to do it over the weekend, so I had to do it today, and that's how it worked out.
So from now on, it'll be 9 o'clock. That's the permanent new time, 9 o'clock. If you miss that any week, I am going to strangle you. So I will hunt you down, and I will kick your bottom.
Bottom.
I knew you would do that. That's why I said the bottom part. But yeah, we'll be back next Tuesday at 9 o'clock. Make sure you check out the website mondaymovieshow.co.uk to find out what we are reviewing, which includes a clip which we are playing in a few moments' time. You'll find that out on a Sunday, which is the new date now that I post up the post for what to expect on the next show, unless we do the show on a Sunday, when it'll then be put up on a Saturday. Just visit the website.
I'm getting a headache.
Yeah, I've already got one anyway. Make sure you check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, and Twitter at Monday Movie Show. I'm at Cryptic Tadpole, Andrew's at EHDVD. You can email us, not that I actually check it, I can't even remember the password for it now, but it's mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. Best place to get us is Facebook or on
it gets
Twitter.
Forwarded to us.
You heard the advert there from Page 2 Screen, which is Stuart and Following the Nerd, which the show is back. I was supposed to have been on it on Thursday in my new video game role. Yes, I actually know more. I know about other things as well as films, even though we just do about films on here. I know about video games, but for some reason, they had major bugs in their system. And it's not Following the Nerd without major bugs in their system. They really do need to see a doctor about that. But yeah, I'm hoping to make my debut this Thursday on the new Following the Nerd show. Find details out on their website, followingthenerd.com, but I still do their box office top 10. That's it for me waffling on. We'll play you out with a clip for the final part in the Hunger Games series, with the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. It's out in UK cinemas very late Wednesday night if you're going to see the midnight show of it. You've also got cinemas which are showing the entire series of it, and also a double bill of Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2. And as I've said, the clip is for Mockingjay Part 2, and until next Tuesday, goodbye.
Bye.
Finnick? Are you with us?
Looks like it.
That's a short honeymoon.
Yeah, well, I guess we're gonna have to have one in the capital after we take it.
Gather round. Squad 451, you're my unit. Lieutenant Jackson is my second in command. Each one of you is elite in some form of combat, but we are a non-combat unit, so we'll be following days behind the frontline troops.
You're to be the on-screen faces of the invasion. The Star Squad. It's been decided that you're most effective when seen by the masses.
So we're not gonna fight.
You do whatever you're ordered to do, soldier. It's not your job to ask questions.
Yes, sir.
Even though we'll be working on abandoned streets miles behind the front lines, I guarantee you, wherever they put us, it will not be safe. This is a war zone. It is likely that we'll encounter both active pods and peacekeepers. You're considered high-value targets to the capital. Our unit has been given a hollow, a database that contains a detailed map of the capital and a list of every known pod. These pods can trigger anything from bombs to traps to mutts. Whatever they contain, they're meant to kill you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 76th Hunger Games.